May the 12th. Dear Miss Taylor, we are now well into our 20th century literature course, and I have yet to receive any written work from you. I realize that you're doing the combined subjects degree, and you must find the workload of English and French plus psychology considerable. However, I must insist on at least one essay this term. Sincerely, Peter Gray. May the 19th. Dear Miss Taylor, I assume that your absence from our tutorial was an acknowledgement of my earlier letter. Can I take it that you spent the time writing, or at least preparing, one of the assignments I mentioned? I look forward to hearing from you shortly. Sincerely, Peter Gray. P.S. If you're having any particular difficulties with the course, please don't hesitate to bring them to me.
May 20th. Dear Professor Gray, I'm sorry for not replying to your first letter and for missing the class last week. As you suggest, I do find the combined subjects course heavy going, and it has slowed down my written work. My essay on Bennett will be ready soon. Annette Taylor. Hal, they're catching up with me as I said they would. Next time you can't bear to let me go, and I quote, please let it not be a Wednesday night. I can't miss Professor Gray's tutorial again. It's 9 p.m. and I'm just finishing my bacon sandwich supper before starting my essay on Bennett. Sorry about the grease blob. It must be great to leave your work behind when you leave the lab. I'm afraid great literature is always with us. But what I really wanted to say was, we don't have to go out on Saturday. Mrs. Thingamy is away all weekend, so come round as early as you can, and we'll have café au lit. All love, and more to come. Annette. P.S. I still have a couple of joints I've been saving.
May the 20th. Dear Daphne, it seems that the term is just beginning to go well, and it's almost over. It's always the same, of course, but I'll be particularly sorry to lose this year's students. My finalists are a bit dull, all going into advertising or television, but I shall really miss my second year. I suppose old Wilson will claim the credit for their firsts and upper seconds when they graduate. But it's not that so much. It's more that I feel surprisingly close to them as individuals. The Thursday morning group in particular. Are students getting more intelligent again, or is the change in me? They seem more sensible and discriminating somehow. More like we were, Daphne. I sense in them a kind of simplicity and, innocence. They have a certain wisdom, of course, but they're not worldly wise. Experience for its own sake is not their dictum, and I wonder if we're seeing a return to that healthy naivete which I have missed so much in the young people of late. I can almost hear you laughing at my own naivete, as you would doubtless call it, but mark my words, the young are less blasé now, and more able to learn because of it. I find them artless, unsophisticated, transparent almost. One can see right through their honest mistakes and understandable confusion to the solid core of commitment and good intentions within. They've brought the excitement back into teaching. Yes, of course I'll see you as usual in Lowestoft in July. Will your mother be joining us this year? Incidentally, you left your brown cardigan here when you were last up. Shall I send it? Even summer evenings are quite cool on that coast. Affectionately, Peter.
May 27th. Hal, I've had time to think about it now. And as they used to say in olden days, you're playing with fire. You can get more than your fingers burned, and it could destroy everything we have. So you found out that I behaved in a certain way before we met. You don't have to do the same things now. It's not a race. You don't have to catch up with me or compete in any way. The important thing is whether we can make it together as the people we are now. It doesn't matter what went before. You always said you hated jealousy, but that's what's really behind this scheme, isn't it? Why else would you go off to London with that creep Miles? I know what his London activities are, and I can guess what you're trying to prove, too. You're just not the type for his dope and way out sex scene. Neither am I, now. I was so young then. Anyway, I survived, but I'm not sure you will. And I'm terrified that you'll end up despising me. Please, don't let Miles talk you into doing anything you don't want to. And try to maintain some clinical detachment. After all, it's only another of your experiments. Isn't it? My love always, Annette.
May the 31st, dear Daphne. I was disturbed by the tone of your letter. It was childish and petulant. Please do not make me old before my time, and I refute your implication that I'm some sort of middle-aged academic hack compensating for my own lack of youth by lusting after that of others. The idea's indecent. As Edmund Blunden put it, I have been young and now am not too old. Neither have I been blitzed by the bombardment of the youth culture, as you put it in such a picturesque overstatement. In truth, Daphne, this isn't the first time I've noticed your tendency to resist any attempts of mine to break out of the patterns of thought and behavior that you've come to expect. Can it be that even now you fear the unknown in me? It's only natural to admire the vitality of the young and the range of their interests. We would do well to broaden our own horizons while we still can, Daphne. A case in point. One of my Thursday students, an independent and original mind, copes with the demands of English and French literature plus psychology, a fine combination of subjects, the human lot seen from two standpoints, as it were. Yet she also leads a full extracurricular life. I've seen her several times on the tennis courts and in town. And she reads outside the course. She's raised some very interesting points on contemporary North American writers. Are you familiar with the work of Joyce Carol Oakes, for example? I understand she's highly regarded in some circles, yet is still quite young. I don't know exactly when I shall be able to get away at the end of term, but I'll let you know, of course. Best wishes, Peter. May the 31st. Dear Miss Taylor, I return your most perceptive essay, with my apologies for not having done so at the tutorial. My comments are noted on your manuscript. I keep looking for something by Joyce Carol Oakes to add another branch to my all-too-stunted tree of literary knowledge, but I've had no luck. Perhaps you would tell me where I can get hold of her books. Sincerely, Peter Gray.
June the 2nd. Dear Professor Gray, thank you for returning my essay and for your comments. The author's name is Oates, as in cereal, not Oaks as in tree. I must say, I'm pleased that my enthusiasm has led you to investigate her work. Perhaps you'd like to read my copy of Expensive People, which is enclosed. Annette Taylor. June the 3rd. Dear Hal, I rang your digs 3 times today. Please say you're not furious. If you're keen to go, of course you must. I just wanted to put you on your guard. I can't even pretend not to be jealous when I wonder what you and Miles will get up to. Maybe you haven't left yet. If not, please ring me tomorrow. I'll skip Gray's Elegy and wait in for your call. A.
June the 5th. Dear Miss Taylor, I'm so sorry you could not join us on Thursday. We discussed a topic which I think would have interested you. Woman's changing role as seen in literature from Hardy to Hemingway. Incidentally, I thank you for your note of explanation, and as a result think that it is now definitely time to re-examine the combined subjects program, for I imagine that other students must also be finding it arduous. I shall look forward to discussing it with you in the near future. Kind regards, Peter Gray.
June 7th. Dear Hal, it was good talking to you, and I'm relieved you're only going for a couple of days and nights. You'll receive this shortly after you arrived, just to remind you to write soon. Thinking of you, Annette.
June the 7th, dear Daphne. There's no need for you to come up to Middleton now, though I do appreciate your kind thought. I am, in fact, very well and almost content. A bit restless, perhaps, but that's all. Yes, of course I'm taking enough recreation, though its form varies. An hour and a half yesterday, I timed it. In fact, it was a few minutes over. As I shall be seeing you soon in Lowestoft, please don't go to the trouble of making the journey up here. In any case, I'm not sure that I shall be in town this weekend. There's to be a conference at the Shakespeare Institute in Stratford, and I plan to attend. My best regards, Peter. June the 8th. Dear Miss Taylor, I wondered if it might be a good idea for us now to talk over the problematical combined subjects course. I'm sure an informal chat would be best, so perhaps you would care to take some tea with me on Saturday afternoon. Shall we say 3 p.m. at the Byron Tea Rooms on Terminus Road? If you can't come, no matter, but I shall look forward to seeing you there. Peter Gray.
June 12th. My dear Hal, while you were sating yourself in the sin spots, I was sipping tea in the gentility of the Byron Tea Rooms with Prof. Gray. I only wish the thought of it could make you jealous. I run into him everywhere these days, which is okay as long as I see him first. But he's rather a dear, in that other-worldly academic way. When I went to join him at the table, he actually stood up. How's that for an obsolete gesture from the oldie-worldy? Touching, though. Hal, please be careful. No, I don't mean the usual. I mean H. It's so easy to get pulled into the bad stuff. I tried it myself once, in much the circumstances you're in now. Thank God it made me really sick, which helped me to keep off it. In fact, it was a kind of turning point for me. There has to be a better way than that to live. Sometimes, recently, I've begun to think I might be finding it. I've certainly been trying hard enough. I'm worried about you. Come home soon, or even Prof. Gray will start to look good. Missing you painfully. Annette.
June the 13th. Dear Annette, I so enjoyed our talk over tea yesterday. It made a pleasant change from my usual Saturday routine, which I confess has become rather dull with the familiarity of so many years. Let me apologize once again for the incident with the milk jug. I'm not normally so clumsy. If, as you say, it will not spoil your charming dress, being also white, then I'm relieved. If you find that you have to get it dry cleaned, though, I insist that you send the bill to me. I've started reading Expensive People and look forward to talking it over with you. Perhaps another tea time would be convenient, and it would allow me to make amends for Saturday's foolishness. Best wishes, Peter.
June 15th. Well, my little rat face, my great hairy goat. Finally a reply when I thought you'd be back here by now. Let me tell you, sweet, that I ran into Miles yesterday, and he got back from London nearly a week ago. So is it the flesh pots you're sampling, or are your sticky little fingers dabbling around one particular honey pot? How about the truth for once? London's a long way to go to get laid. What is the point you're trying to make? And don't give me that crap about emotional and mental compatibility, because I give you that too. June 16th. Dear Peter, please don't worry about the dress. I washed it, and it's perfectly okay now. I'm in no hurry for the return of the book, and as I shall be working in Middleton for the long vac, you could send it to me at any time. Thanks again for a very pleasant afternoon. It made quite a change for me, too, and I enjoyed it. Annette.
June the 17th, dear Daphne. I'm sorry I wasn't around when you rang. As you see, my timetable is a little less predictable of late. I realize your concern for me springs from the best possible motives, but you really must not worry. It is true that I've been feeling a little unsettled lately, and I haven't been sleeping all that well. But I'm sure it's just the unusually warm nights we've been having. I'm not worried anyway, so there's no need for you to be. Do you remember our discussion of last Easter about the desire we both felt for a new sense of commitment? I've thought of it a lot recently. You said that one could easily cultivate such a commitment, simply make a rational choice and then get to work on it, as it were. But I believe more than ever now that the prime instigation must be emotional. And on that basis, I feel close to making such a change in my own life. It's nothing I can put my finger on, exactly. Just a feeling that something may still turn up trumps, and that the future may, even yet, be better than what's past. I hope you understand that, Daphne. I'm sorry that I may have to disappoint you on July the 20th. Another Shakespeare conference is being organized, and I should attend. I'm sure you won't let my absence put a damper on the festivities, though. Remember me to your mother, who must have joined you by now. My best wishes, Peter. P.S. The world is so young, Daphne. Do you feel it too?
June 20th. Dear Hal, of course I'm glad you want me to come, but in a way I wish you wouldn't try and persuade me. You know, I really do want to stop running. Remember when I told you all that stuff about trying the academic way of life for a bit to see if it could be for me? It's considered so passé now, it just might be. Well, occasionally in the past few months, I've begun to feel that I could learn to love dim old libraries and bright old professors. Now you come along yelling like a kid about some secret garden you found, when I know it's just the neighborhood refuse dump. Honestly, the very thought of joining you fatigues me awfully. Yet such weariness may only be the result of denying to myself the barbed attractions of what you suggest. Thus, we are betrayed by what is false within, as George Meredith put it so succinctly. I shall not come, for I know it would end badly. Don't forget me all the same. Annette. P.S. I feel 100 years old today.
June the 20th. Dear Annette, Iago tells us that to be direct and honest is not safe. Yet I'm sure you've already seen through my juvenile subterfuge, so I feel I must now gain by being honest. In truth, Annette, my dear Annette, as Emile Zola said, truth is on the march. Nothing can stop it now. Thus, since I'm sure you've already guessed the truth, I think I should be completely open with you. Although our relationship has hitherto been complicated by... June the 21st. Dear Annette, I am pleased to learn that you will be in Middleton for the summer, and the news prompts me to invite you to spend a Saturday with me at Stratford, say July the 20th. We could go to the theatre, and if the weather is good, take a punt out on the river with a stop somewhere for tea. Would you like that? Have you ever punted before? It is most enjoyable, and I loved it as a student. In those days, the young ladies, our sisters usually, except when we were lucky enough to be accompanied by other people's sisters, used to wear those large sun hats, which I have always thought so graceful. Do you own such a hat? I think it would suit you. Not that I wish to imply that you are old-fashioned in any way, yet I suspect that under the contemporary genes and so on, one might find the attitudes and values of a few years back. Not too far back, of course, but times have changed so very rapidly. If you could come, Annette, it would make the day so memorable for me. The company is performing Titus Andronicus, and it's so rarely produced these days that it would be rather fun to see it. Yours in hopeful anticipation, Peter.
June the 23rd. Dear Peter, thank you so much for your invitation to Stratford. I should love to have joined you, but I can't. I received your letter just as I was leaving, rather unexpectedly, for London, where I shall be indefinitely. I'm sorry I won't be coming. I've never been in a punt before, and I've never seen Titus Andronicus either. It would have been fun. If I don't see you next year, as my plans are a little vague, please keep my copy of Expensive People with my best wishes. Have a good long vac. Annette.
June the 27th. Dear Daphne, I find I shall, after all, be able to come to your soirée on July the 20th. There weren't any places left for the Shakespeare conference. I shall come down to Lowestoft on Friday to arrive about 3:30, as usual. Please don't bother to meet the train, if it's inconvenient. How kind of you to have got hold of some books by Joyce Carol Oates for me. However, if the strangeness and violence of what I've read so far is typical, then I think that to appreciate her work, one needs a greater familiarity with contemporary psychological theory than I have. I think that your plan to do some cross-country hiking is an excellent one, and it'll do me the world of good. One is given to such unrealistic flights of fancy, cooped up in an internal existence all the time. I'll get a good pair of boots before I leave Middleton. It has turned extraordinarily chilly for June, don't you think? I'm sure you'll be glad of your brown cardigan, which I shall bring with me. See you soon, Peter. P.S. Daphne, I wonder if we should try Cornwall next year. We could both do with a change, and I believe it's warmer there, too.